Hey Magicals, and welcome back to a new video. I know, long time no see, but today it's really hot outside, the sun is shining, it's finally summer. So here are my top books that you need to read during summer. The first book that I absolutely loved is The Bridge Kingdom, and it's actually a duology. It's a fantasy romance series that I absolutely devoured. It's a classic enemies to lovers romance story, but what made this book special to me is the setting. The first book is set in a beautiful jungle kingdom with bridges and waterfalls, rainforests. It's so mythical. And the second book is set in the desert, and it honestly made me want to book a trip to the Sahara and discover ancient temples. In the Bridge Kingdom, we follow Lara, who is a princess who has been trained all her life to bring the Bridge Kingdom to its knees. The Bridge Kingdom is a kingdom that basically controls all the trades and fairs in this world, and it enriches himself this way, and all the other countries are suffering. Lara is sent to kill Aaron, the prince of the Bridge Kingdom, so that her kingdom can survive. When she arrives in this lush paradise of jungle kingdom, she soon realizes that not everything is as it seems, and maybe the Bridge Kingdom is not evil after all. She gets to know Aaron more, and she needs to decide for her own fate. Is she going to save her own kingdom, or is she going to save the people of the Bridge Kingdom? The next book I want to recommend to you is actually a poetry book, and it's The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. I deeply resonated with her poems because I felt like I could identify with them. She described problems that I dealt with myself or I'm dealing right now, so I truly enjoyed it, and I have multiple tabs here which show you how good this book truly is. I've read all of poetry books so far, and I can't wait for Hennik's poetry book to come out. This edition is also so beautiful. It's the hardcover edition, and I think it's so aesthetically pleasing. I also love the style of the pages. It just looks like a book that you would find in a second-hand bookstore, and you keep it as a treasure. So it's really special to me. I think I want to read you some of my favorite poems from The Sun and Her Flowers. I'm probably not the only one, but I do struggle a lot with my body, and this poem really helped me to realize what my body is capable of, and that I should appreciate it for what it is instead of judging it. I would use my body to aesthetics, forgot the work it did to keep me alive. With every beat and breath, declared it a grand failure for not looking like theirs. Searched everywhere for a miracle, foolish enough to not realize I was already living in one. I think this is so beautiful, to compare your body to a miracle, and I think it's just a great reminder. It is $1 trillion industry that would collapse if we believed we were beautiful enough. Their concept of beauty is manufactured. I'm not. This is also really beautiful. You probably read it already on Pinterest. It was a poem that I read before I even owned this book, but I absolutely love it, and it's such a great message for women of all ages, but especially young women in my opinion. What is the greatest lesson a woman should learn? That since day one, she's already had everything she needs within herself. It's the world that convinced her she did not. Realizing that I'm talking like 10 minutes straight about this book already, so I think I will dedicate a whole new video to this book because it's so good and I want to share everything about it. The next book is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. This is a book about mermaids and sirens and pirates, so this screams summer to me. It basically feels like a modern day Ariel retelling, but a bit darker. It also reminded me a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean because of the pirate part in here. I know I didn't rate this book absolutely high. I think it was 3.5 stars for me. I read it multiple years ago, so I'm not sure what is my exact rating, but I know that I read this book really quickly, and that is something that, in my opinion, makes a really good book. What hooked me with this book specifically was the first line, which says, "I have a heart for every year I've been alive." And I think this is so intriguing. I was instantly like, why do you have a heart for every year you've been alive? That already is a great start to a great book. One of my favorite books from last year, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. It was everything that I expected and more, to be honest. I have not watched the movie yet, but I'm definitely going to do that because I absolutely loved this book. This book felt truly mysterious and sad, and it really made me emotional. It was a depressing book, you could say it, because it made me feel sad Maybe that's not something you're searching in a book, but it was something that not a lot of books have given me. The feeling of sadness, and I somehow felt that intriguing about this book, and I was definitely kept on my toes the whole time because it was such a good mystery. And I'm not sure if it's a spoiler, but there is a plot twist at the end, and I did not see that coming at all. It was fantastical, but it was also horrible. So I think that's everything I want to say about the plot twist. One of the critiques said about this book that it is a celebration of nature, and it truly is. I think the protagonist Kaya has such a special connection to nature and all the animals that live inside him, and she finds companionship in them when everything else is lost and everybody left her, and she is alone in the marsh trying to survive and building her own life. And I think she is a perfect example of an independent woman, in my opinion, because from a really young age on, she had to fend for herself and find a way to survive in harsh surroundings. So this is one of a kind. I've never read anything like it, and I highly recommend everybody to read this book. The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armes. What a quick and fun and romantic read. This highly reminds me of The Love Hypothesis, which I absolutely love. In my opinion, The Love Hypothesis is a bit better than The Spanish Love Deception, but nonetheless, I think this is everything that you can ask for in a good summer book. It's romance, it's a how to love romance, which I absolutely love. It has a tall, grooming male character and a small, bubbly female character. In this book, we follow Catalina, who's invited to her sister's wedding to Spain. She's living in New York City, and she has told everybody that she has the perfect boyfriend, but she does not. So she now needs to find a date that is going to cross the Atlantic for her and go as her date to the wedding of her sister. And Aaron Blackford, the 6'4" tall, handsome boy, offers to step in. So you can guess where that story is leading. A fun and quick summer read, highly recommend, loved it. Next book, The Refunded. I really like to step into this oriental world. It screams summer, and I really love to dive into new cultures. This book is also really mysterious. It hooked me from start to finish. I would definitely check trigger warnings because, in my opinion, it got really rough at some times, and it deals with some darker topics. In my opinion, this cover perfectly describes how mysterious this book is, and also the oriental vibes going on in this book. This book is said to be inspired by 1001 Nights, and it definitely gives me Aladdin vibes, to say at least. In this book, we follow a young Khalid, who is called a boy king, ruling of this kingdom. Each night, the Khalid takes a new wife, and each morning, she is found dead. One day, Shahzad's best friend is chosen as the new wife, got killed, and now Shahzad, of course, wants to find revenge and offers herself up as the new wife of the Khalid to try to solve the mystery about all the dead wives and at the same time revenge her best friend. I love a good romance mystery book, and this was definitely not what I expected. It was a lot darker and twisted and emotional, and I think this is a really hot and intriguing summer read. Lastly, I want to recommend two books by Emily Henry, who is an author that I am starting to absolutely love. I read Book Lovers, which was the first book I ever read by her. Absolutely loved it. The idea of reading a book about people who love books is just great. It's such a beautiful story. We have a small town romance. We have hate to love romance. It somehow felt like a retelling of Pride and Prejudice in a modern setting. We also have a really cozy bookstore in this tiny village, which I would love to visit if it would exist in real life. It made me laugh out loud multiple times, and that doesn't happen often with books. This definitely is a reason to read this book. Highly recommend. I also read Beach Read, which is also by Emily Henry. I read it last month, I think, and it was not what I expected at all. I thought it would be a lovely love story set at the beach, but it was not. It was a story about loss and grief and finding back into your job and finding new trust in a relationship. It was way more mature than I thought this book would be, and that surprised me. It is set at a beach and at a beach house, so that definitely screams summer, but I felt like it was dealing with darker topics than I expected from a romance book by Emily Henry. So you should definitely give it a go. It was really good, and I read it in only a few days, so it's a quick read. You probably can't put it down. So these are all my book recommendations for summer. I hope there's something for you in there. Definitely let me know down in the comments what books you're planning to read this summer, and if you have any good summer book recommendations. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. See you next time. Bye!